I've been very disrespected by people who have come to America from outside. They've done things that are not very nice. But I also know people like you. Wherever an African is, Africa is. And wherever Africa is, I'm home. No matter, you're my family, Orita. I see you as family. I see you as blood tie. I see you as melanin tie. There are some that are not very nice, but most are very nice. I'm not going to let the ones that are starting the trouble get in the way of the ones that mean no harm and only mean good. And we have to think that way and not get caught up in the emotion of division.
Yes, peace and blessings, everybody. I am your brother Orina, all the way from the motherland, all the way from Kenya, Nairobi, the nation's capital. And today I'm honored to meet one of my mentors in this. When I was when I was asking a lot of questions and when I was looking for scholars who can explain what Pan Africanism is, who can explain Black history to me very well, he is one of the people I ran to virtually, and I am honored. I am honored to have this guest on my show. You've seen him on Hidden Colors, multiple Hidden Colors. You've seen him in Out of Darkness. You've also seen him in. I mean, he has been teaching Black people for so long. You have been waking us up for so long. And I was telling him the other day, you're like you don't know how impactful you are until somebody from miles and miles away tells you that you have inspired them. And trust me, he's one of the people who inspired me. He's one of the people who I respect the most. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, please welcome Brother Kaba Kamene. How are you doing, my elder?
My brother, I am doing excellent. It is really a pleasure and an honor. And as you said, brother, it's not until I meet and speak to people such as yourself that I realize that we're doing the ancestors and the creators work. Because when you're doing this work, you don't always stop to think about who is listening because you're so busy
Yeah.
just making this work happen, you know. And I often say I listen to understand and I speak to be understood because our people are ready to make this move. And having spent so much time with our children, because that's my background, education. I taught in the New York City public school system in the Bronx for 31 years. I've taught every grade, I've taught every subject. My primary license is in early childhood. So I wanted to teach the children who were 4 years and 5 years old. I wanted to get them young. I've taught every grade, I've taught every subject. I've taught college 14 years. And the one thing I've come to realize, my brother Orina, is that we are ready. The question is, are we as adults ready to bring our children through their understanding? It takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a child to raise a village.
Wow. That's deep. It takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a child to raise a village. Wow. That's deep. That's very deep. Wow, wow, wow. First of all, thank you so much for coming. Hope all is well wherever you are. And I just want to know one thing. You have been doing this for so long, for so long. You have been writing books for so long. You've been teaching Black people for so long. What drives you? What drives you to be so consistent, to be so powerful, and to still keep the passion going? What drives you?
The reality that our people are ready. I know that the work that we do sometimes bring disappointment. I know that we wish that more people would open their eyes and understand their greatness. But in working with children, I've come to realize that they're ready. And what drives me is them. What drives me is you, Brother Orina. in knowing that the work that we're doing has in some way, some fashion, been part of your positive journey. That's what drives me. Success. I've seen it. I know it. I've lived my life with it. I myself am a result of being impacted, first of all, by my parents, who were very much involved in the movement back in the 50s and the 60s, and being introduced to the great scholar Dr. John Henrik Clarke at a very young age, 12 and a half. I know that it works because it worked for me. And so all I'm doing, Brother Orina, is I'm replicating for others what was done for me. That's what drives me. You drive me. The community drives me. Your audience that's listening to this program drives me. And I know that we're going to get there. It's just a matter of keeping on. Keeping on.
Wow, wow, wow. You never get tired, you never get weary of the backsliding, and like you never get tired.
Never, never. I get energized. Someone like yourself, the other night when we spoke, you energized me. When I'm with our children and they tell me the impact that I've had on them, that energized me. I do presentations, and at the end of the presentation, where we're sitting around, we're talking. The presentation is gone, and some of the people have gone, and some of the people still remain. We're sitting around a table, and we're just talking. Sometimes this conversation goes longer than the presentation did. And they say, I know you must be tired. No, I'm not. I'm energized. It's like when I'm with my people, it's like me being a battery in a charger. And I'm being charged by the African spirit, the African Holy Ghost, the spirit of us as a people energizes me. So no, I don't get tired. And I don't get upset because, Brother Orina, I know from brothers and sisters on our mother continent, Africa, who have been colonized, and the African folk outside the continent who have been enslaved. I know by matter of degree, we're all someplace. We're all hurt some way, somehow by what has happened to us as a people. The inhumanity that has been put upon us as a people. And I know that by matter of degree, all of us are impacted by what has happened to us. This, what's called in Kiswahili, maafa, this terroristic disaster. People want to know about terrorism. If there's one people that know about terrorism, it's Black people. We've been terrorized mentally, physically, spiritually, and soulfully. Yet somehow or other, you and I can be on this program today talking this way. Two different parts of the world. See, because the ancestors and the creator left in our DNA this connection, knowing that one day, no matter what we went through, no matter how we were taken from our history, taken from our language, taken from our values, interests, and principles, that one day we would come back together again. And Brother Kaba and Brother Orina would be sitting up, one at 10 o'clock in the morning and the other at 3 o'clock in the morning, talking to the community worldwide. So I never lose faith in where we are. We just got to keep on keeping on. And the elder generation has to hand down to the younger generation our sacred legacy. We are a considerate people.
Yes, that's very interesting. You said that. That's something that in the Black community, both here in Africa and also in the diaspora, when it comes to leadership, the elders often, not all, but often the elders are reluctant to pass the torch to the young people. And you can see it in African leadership. You can see, African leaders, some of them staying 30, 40 years in power. And you're like, just hand over. It's time,
Yes. 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 You know, when it came time, you know, in my career, I started teaching in 1979 in the Bronx, New York, US. And I retired in July of 2009. I taught for 31 years in the Board of Education. I taught in other schools. I've been teaching since 1977. So I came back to New York where I lived and I started teaching in 1979. And in 2009, my salary as a teacher equaled 2.5 teachers. They could
Wow.
hire 2.5 teachers. In other words, if you put two of me together, you could hire 5 teachers for the children. Going back to what you said, there come a time when, as elders, we got to pass the torch to the younger generation. For me to keep on teaching just because I wanted to make the kind of money I was making. See, I did other things. The year after I retired was when I did my first Hidden Colors.
Ah.
A few years after that was when I started writing books. So the point that I'm making is that when you are obedient to the Creator and the ancestors, they'll make a way for you. I didn't need to keep teaching. It was time for me to go and now consult and work with the younger teachers, because that's what I do. I work with younger teachers now. And so when you reached out to me and you told me what you were doing, that's what I do. I reach out to the younger teachers to take them through the process. Back up. It comes a time when elders have to back up and give it to the younger people to do. It's the wisdom of the elder and the energy of the younger. And I really believe that. We as elders want to hold on, but what are we holding on to? It's not our time. We had our time. We did what we did. And if you did it successfully, it's the most perfect time then to take your success and show the younger people who are walking with you how to do it, how to avoid the pitfalls. Because we've been through the pitfalls. Younger people, when you're excited, you're doing what you're doing, a lot of times, I did it, you fall into pitfalls. But because I had elders that guided me, like John Henry Clark and Dr. Yosef Ben Yekinen, Dr. Shashi McIntyre, Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop from Senegal, you know, examples of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Thomas Sankara, Steve Biko. You know, these were people that showed me and mirrored for me back in my early days how to put things together. There come a time when you got to back up and pass the baton to the younger generation. But at the same time, always let them know I'm here for you when you want. You have a question, I'm here for you when you want. There's a story of a drummer and his apprentice, his student that was a drummer. And they were in the village and they were drumming. And the elder was hitting the drum and everybody was dancing in the community. And then it came time for the younger drummer to have his time. And the younger drummer being so young and energetic, I mean, he was just hitting that drum. The day ended and the elder and the younger were walking with their drums, and the younger drummer said, "Elder, I saw that when you were drumming, the community was dancing. And you were just playing it easy and cool and, you know, steady. And then when I started drumming, I was going and the community was dancing, but they were dancing at the same tune that they were dancing when you were drumming. How is it that they could dance the same way with your drumming? And then when I went faster, they still danced at the same pace." And the elder drummer told the younger drummer, because when you mature and become an elder, you learn how to do the same thing without exerting so much energy. And that's a story for us to remember. A younger person can do the same thing that an elder does, but they have to exert more energy. But when you mature, you learn how to do the same thing, but you don't have to exert so much energy because you can do just as much if you know how to pace yourself. And the one thing that I would like to tell young people, if they didn't listen to anything else I said, but if they just listen to this one thing that I said, the most precious thing you have is time. You can make all the money, you can lose it, and you can make more again tomorrow. You can have 3 houses, they all burn down. You can build another one tomorrow. You can have all the sneakers in the world, all the fine clothes. They all get lost, but you can get more the next day. But you'll never have another September 14th, 2025 again. So how you spent that day, you can never get back. And so if young people could just understand, don't waste your time. That's why we say pay attention. Because time is a currency. It is something that everybody wants. And it's more valuable than gold and diamonds and dollar bills and time. Use it wisely. Procrastination, to put off today what you should do, to put it off till tomorrow. Procrastination is the death of time. It steals your greatest currency, which is time. Don't waste it. And I used to always tell my students, I'll never waste your time, and I'll never let anyone waste mine. And this is why those who listen to your program, to listen to this conversation, I so appreciate, because they are paying attention to us. I respect that. I don't violate it, and I don't waste it.
Wow. Wisdom from our elder Kaba Kamene. You mentioned the education system. I think we can start from there. Well, we all know what's going on, or what has been going on, or maybe what's been done, and that is the government erasing Black history, erasing slavery out of the, they're trying to make sure that they kind of, and to me, if you ask me, it is kind of them erasing their dark, dirty past. What do you think about the government trying to erase Black history, to erase slavery history, to erase all these things so that children cannot know what really happened back in the day? Like, what are they trying to do?
If I were them, my brother Orina, my mother always told me, she said, in order to defeat your enemy, you must think like your enemy. And so when I think of those, because the government, the educational system, the incarceration, the imprisonment of our people, their attempt to erase that history, if I were them, thinking like them, I would do the same thing. Why would I let you know why I did to you what I did? I grew up during the Civil Rights Movement. I marched with Dr. King in 1965. I stood in the presence of Malcolm X when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
I was born 2 years before Emmett Till was murdered. Okay? And so I grew up during a civil rights movement. I grew up Roman Catholic. I was a Catholic. I was a choir boy, an altar boy, wanted to be a priest growing up. But when I was young, I remember one day, I was very young. I might have been 6, 7, 8, 9, and I was watching the civil rights movement. I was watching Black people marching in the United States for their rights. And I remember the Ku Klux Klan, which is and was a white supremacist organization. I remember that they burned a cross on the lawn outside of the house of a Black family. Now, growing up Roman Catholic, the cross is a very sacred symbol. And I said to myself, of all the things for them to do to show hate, why would they burn the symbol of their religion? I didn't understand that. Because that's what they used to do. They used to burn flag. They used to burn the cross, big crosses they would make, and burn it on Black people's lawns right outside their house to demonstrate their hate for the Black people. And I just didn't understand it. And through my evolution of study our history, studying African history, Caribbean history, the United States history, I came to realize why. I didn't so much focus on what they did. I was trying to figure out, why would they do that? What is it about Black people that makes them do this? What is it about the British that would make them do and treat Black folk in Kenya that way, in Ghana, Nigeria? What is it about them that would make them do that? There's a lot of ways they could do it. They could have been friendly. But what would make them oppress a people? I was trying to figure it out as a child. And as I studied, my brother Orina, and to the family that's listening, I came to realize something. They don't hate us. Those who wish to oppress us don't hate us. They fear us. They fear us. They fear our greatness. They fear what will happen when we learn who we are. You know Bob Marley? He had a song, the last song on his last album that he produced. He tells us, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We have to fulfill the book. So the reason why they try to erase our history is because they don't want to face it. Because when they face it, they're going to understand that we are the original human beings on the planet. And there's only one race on the planet. And that race was conceived, born, nurtured, sustained, educated, civilized, technologized in Africa, particularly in Central and Southern Africa, amongst the Twa Mbuti Khoisan people. The first human family, Central Southern Africa. And then they were hunters and they were gatherers in the very beginning. They were hunting, they were gathering, they started to fish, then they started to do agriculture. And then out of agriculture, they started to study the land. As they studied the land, they studied the heavens. As they studied the heavens, they began to see the patterns and the cycles where they could grow their crops better. They learned the seasons. They learned math, science, language arts. They started to write. And then they spread across Africa. They went to the east and created the Kushites and the Kemites. They went west and developed Ghana, Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, Senegal. And then they began to spread outside of the continent of Africa. And they went to Europe, they went to Asia, they went to America. And they laid the foundations upon which all things are based. And a branch of us, an ethnic stock, because you see, Europeans are not a race. There's no white race. That's an ethnic stock. Asians are not a race. They're an ethnic stock that morphed out of the original race, which was African. And there were sects, sects, of people, particularly those who were non-pigmented, that turned against their original fathers and mothers and began to mistreat them, began to enslave them, began to disrespect them and disregard them. And now that we are learning who we are, now that we're learning our greatness, we're learning what we have achieved all around the world, now they're afraid. They're afraid that once melanated people, African people, take their rightful place in the world arena, there'll be no place for them. And so they don't want us to know. So they're going to try to stop us. But Brother Orina, ain't no stopping us now. It's done. Horse gone through the carriage. We know our history. There's a lot more to learn. There's a lot more to learn. The more I learn how much more I have to learn. For every question that I can answer, 7 more questions appear. But I'm leaving it to your generation and your children and your children's children's children to take this work to the next level. More work to be done. More accuracy to the study and to the research. But I'm going to do everything I can in my time. I'm passing the baton off to you, Brother Orina. And to all those that want to accept the baton. And those that don't want to accept the baton, it's all right. I still love you. I just don't have time for you. Because I'm trying to talk to my brother Orina. Yeah. So I'm ready to talk to the people that are ready to make the move. And sometimes we get very overwhelmed because we want to see it now. But my thing is, it's like a fireplace where you want to start a roaring fire. You have 12 logs that you're going to set ablaze. But if I try to set all of them on a blaze, I'm put myself on fire because I have to reach out into that fireplace. But if I can light the log that's closest to me, that first log will light the second log will light the third to the fourth, and pretty soon all 12 logs are on fire. But I only lit the first log. So I'm not going to overwhelm myself. There's only so much I can do in my lifetime. But it's my responsibility to pass the baton on to those that will carry this work on into the next generation. Because we're going to get there. We're going to get there. It's already been divinely designed for it to happen. I can see it. A prophet is not a psychic. A prophet is just a good historian. Because when you know what happened in the past, you can interpret what's happening in the present, and you can predict what's going to happen in the future. Because everybody think, oh, how did he know that? No big thing. If you know the past, you understand the present, you predict the future.
Yeah. Wow. 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 That is deep. And I like what you said about a prophet is not a psychic, just a good historian. And the more, and I said in one of my videos, the more you go back is the more you go in front, you know. And I also like what you said, Elder. You said that they, they don't hate us, they fear us. So basically, what you're saying is white supremacy, racism exists because they fear us because they've learned about us and they know what we did in the past, and they know that with the technology, with everything that's going on right now, if we replicate our greatness and if we modernize our greatness, uh, we will easily be better than them.
They know just by how what we do, they know everything they have. They learn from us. It was in Africa that they learned how to write and how to read. The Greek civilization, first of all, the original Greek civilization was black. And then northern people came from like the Germanic areas, up way up in the north, and they came down and they came upon this civilization of black people in Manoa, in Crete, in the Mediterranean area. And they learned from those Africans language, philosophy, science, math. We taught them. And they know this. And then they stole it and they put their name on it. Do you know that Indo-European civilization, according to Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, the Senegalese scholar, when you look at their civilizations, they never lasted more than 500 years. When you look at the Persians, they lasted from 525 to 332 BC. 525, 332 BC, a little over 180 something years. And then the Greeks came and took over civilization. The Greek civilization existed between 332 BC and 30 BC, a little over 300 years. And then the Romans took it over. The Romans existed from 30 BC to about 426 AD, about 456 years. And then they fell. And then Europe went into darkness, called the Dark Ages. And then Africans from North Africa, the Moors, traveled into Europe, Spain, Portugal, brought back civilizations, created the first universities, the first music conservatory. They brought the strawberry. They brought cotton. They taught them how to terrace farm on layers. They brought the Valencia orange, olives, grapes into Europe. And then they brought in universities, schools. They brought in medicine. Africans, melanated people, look like you, look like me. For some people, it's hard to believe because they've seen us as less than. They see us as what they call primitive. They don't know that everything they have, they got from us. That's the way it is.
Mm.
And so that's why they want to erase it. Do you know what happens when our children, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of age, learn this? Because I taught them. I taught children throughout my career how great they were. I taught them to love Africa, love the color of your skin, love the width of your nose, the shape of your lips, the kink in your hair. Because when you can look in the mirror and hate what you see, they don't have to put shackles on your arms because you got shackles on your brain. But when you can look in the mirror and love who you see, it changes the whole dynamic. So they're going to erase your history. They don't want you to know this. They don't want you to know what you've done. Do you know Africa is the only continent on the earth that could create a boundary around the entire continent, and they would not need anybody for anything? They wouldn't have to trade with anybody outside of Africa because Africa got everything. Every type of animal that lives in the world is in Africa. Every type of plant that exists in the world is in Africa. Every type of human being that exists is in Africa. Africa is the only continent that does not need anybody outside of the continent for anything. They don't want you to know that. And the one thing they don't want is for a brother from New York to talk to a brother from Kenya. Because then you realize and I realize we're the same. We're the same people. There are differences, but that's what makes the world so beautiful. Differences. It kind of be kind of boring if we were all the same. There are differences, but those differences are complementary differences, not antagonistic. So they want us to keep fighting amongst ourselves. Because as long as we can be divided, we can be conquered. And so my message to my brothers and sisters who follow your program, Pan-African or perish. If we all don't do this together, ain't none of us getting out of this. Together. Brotherhood, sisterhood, respect and love, honor and integrity, respect.
Wow.
It's our way forward.
I'm happy. I'm really happy you said that because currently, I don't know if you're paying attention to what's happening in the internet now, but there's a beef, between Africans and African Americans. One thinks they're better than the other on both sides. And I told people in my platform that, okay, yeah, the beef exists, but I know that the tech companies are pushing this so that they can divide us even further than the extent that we're divided now.
Mm-hmm.
And people are just falling into the traps. And
Yes.
I'm like, guys, we need it. Like, what do you think about the division that is kind of going on right now?
If I were them, I would do the same thing. You got to think like them. See, because when I first started teaching in the Bronx, the cultural backgrounds were such that there were Spanish speaking people from Puerto Rico for the most part, African Americans, and we had groups. This is back in the 70s, 1979, 80, 81. But what began to happen going into the 90s, going into the 2000s, large groups of brothers and sisters from the continent were coming. Ghana, Accra, they speak Twi. Many people from Guinea-Bissau, from Nigeria were coming. Many of them were Christian, but even Muslims came from Africa. They started to build mosques where there were never mosques before. And I made it my business to be able to introduce African American culture to them. But at the same time, I celebrated their culture. I remember I met this young lady who was a woman, but she was in my second grade. She was about 7 years old when I had her as a student. Now she's like 32, 33. She has a child. She and her mother were in a supermarket, same supermarket I was in the Bronx. And she recognized me. And she said, "Oh, Mr. Coleman," that was my name before I corrected it. "Oh, Mr. Coleman, you are my teacher." Mother came over to me. They were from Ghana. Mother came over to me and she said, "I never forget you." She said, "Because my daughter, when she first came to America with us, it was a new culture. You know, she was concerned, a little bit fearful, but you made her proud to be Ghanaian. You made her proud to be Black. You made her proud to be an African by the things that you would tell and you would talk to them about their culture, about where they came from." And the mother now, with her daughter, she said, "I remember the stories you used to tell me about Ghana. I remember how you used to ask me to write certain words like, how do you say hello and goodbye in Twi? You know, how do you say thank you? What is your language? How do you, how, and I had her teach the other students Twi, how to count up to 10 in Twi. I had a student from Nigeria. I had him in the third grade. I taught him math. And I remember in the beginning of the school year, I was asking my students their name. And he told me his name was Junior. I said, "Junior?" I said, "I know a lot of people from Nigeria. I ain't never met nobody named Junior before. What's your name?" "It ain't Junior." He said, "My name is Olodokun. Olodokun. Olodokun Igioba." And the teacher said, "Well, you know, it was a little difficult for the children to pronounce his name. So his father has the same name, so we call him Junior." As I said, "No, no. We're going to practice his name until we get it right." And so I had all the children practice Olodokun and had to get to kun, kun. Okay, it's not just Olodokun, it's Olodokun. Had them practice that. Practice it until they called him his name. And then I had him explain to us what his name meant in Yoruba. What does it mean? It's not like Charlie. What does it mean? Years later, his mother told me that he graduated from college. He was valedictorian in college. And he had cited me, CITED. He cited me as a person that gave him respect for himself and dignity in his name and to love his culture. This is the connection we have to make with each other. I'm done with the divisions. Yeah, we got problems. There people can't stand me. I know that. But you don't feel towards me because you are your culture. It's just that as human beings, everybody don't get along. It's just one of those things. Sometimes people get on your nerves. But we can't let that get in the way of what our people need. Our people need unity. We respect each other. And if you don't care for me, I understand. I'll stay away. I don't need to be around you. If it's that bad, we can stay away from each other, but we don't do battle with each other because we have a common enemy. And don't ever forget that. I'm not your enemy. We have to stop fighting amongst ourselves. We have to stop this nonsense argument about who's better. Everybody's better. And it is an African tradition that when I help you, I help me. Because as you rise, I rise. Let's get away from this nonsense. Because those who wish to oppress you wish to oppress me. And their oppression exists when we are divided. We got a problem? Let's go home as a family and discuss our issue. But we don't fight in public. We don't let people know we have division. In all of the presentations I've ever done, my brother Orina, no one has ever heard me badmouth another black man or black woman. And I may disagree with them. But if I got a problem, I'll call you up, talk to you personally. I'm not going to do it over the internet. I'm not going to do it on Google. I'm not going to do it on Instagram. If I got a problem with you, I'm going to talk to you personally. And if I don't talk to you, then it doesn't bother me that much. We must stop fighting amongst ourselves. Pan-African or perish. No one group is going to get out of this alone.
Yeah.
Together.
I always tell people that, and I was one of the people who were really, really trying to tell people, yo, stop this. In fact, there was the African Americans saying that they were going to boycott African shops and African businesses, and I was like, whoa, guys, just let's talk about this. Let's just discuss. And you know, to what you said, and even Europeans, they don't agree amongst themselves. But when it comes to them working together to ensure that there's stability and to ensure that there's prosperity in their borders, that's when they'll come together. I mean, why don't we do the same? Even here in Africa, we are 54 countries, and Congo doesn't mess with Rwanda. This country doesn't mess with this country. You know, Kenyans don't mess with other countries. And I'm like, fine, let's, you know, even Marcus Garvey said we are cast with petty differences. But can we find a way to come together and reclaim our greatness? I mean, even siblings fight once in a while, but when it comes, you know, but when the house burns, when the family house burns, the siblings will come together with water to, you know, to pour at the fire to extinguish the fire. So, I mean, if Europeans can do it, and that's why they've been around for a while, is because they know how to separate personal from business. Why don't we know how to separate personal from business, Elder?
That's it. That's it. And learn how to deal with our personal differences. But you know, like I say, I know that we all don't get along. We're human beings. There's no guarantee that we're all going to like each other. There are certain people of same culture don't like each other, but we're still family. Solve our problems, deal with our issues. And there will be people that will not do the right thing. There will be people that will turn on you. Know who they are too. But don't let them instigate you to turn against somebody else. Because you may not have a problem. Bob Marley has a song, he say, your best friends can be your worst enemies, and your worst enemies can be your best friends. Critical thinking. Critical thinking. Get the emotion out. We've been hurt, Brother Orina. Those at home and abroad. We've been hurt badly. And from generation to generation, for some of us, that hurt has been passed down from generation to generation, be it colonization or enslavement. We're hurt. And I understand that. And I can look past that. I'm going to protect myself, but I'm going to look past it because I know you're hurt. And the reason why you're saying that to me is because you're hurt. Because I didn't do nothing to you for you to say something like that to me or to treat me a certain way. I've been very disrespected by people who have come to America from outside. They've done things that are not very nice. But I also know people like you. And I have faith that the good folk that know, I have so many associations with brothers and sisters that are family. Wherever an African is, Africa is. And wherever Africa is, I'm home. No matter, you're my family, Orina. I see you as family. I see you as blood tie. I see you as melanin tie. And there are many from Puerto Rico, República Dominicana, Haiti, Mexico, Ecuador, Brazil. Same way. There are some that are very nice, but most are very nice. I'm not going to let the ones that are starting the trouble get in the way of the ones that mean no harm and only mean good. And we have to think that way and not get caught up in the emotion of division.
Yeah, yeah. And is it true? Because I always say this. White supremacy is a global institution, and the reason why they've been around for a while is because they understand the power of amalgamation. They understand the power of uniting amongst themselves, and that's why they've been around for a while. Now, the problem with us Black people is that we are divided, and that's why I say Pan-Africanism is the only kryptonite to white supremacy, because you defeat. This isn't back in the day, David versus Goliath. You defeat Goliath with another Goliath. A giant with another giant. That's what I always say, elders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the only way, and it's internal. The battle on the earth that we're facing, the greatest enemy to the human family, no matter you white, you black, whatever, the greatest enemy is ignorance. There's two types of ignorance. There's the ignorance of not knowing, and there's the ignorance that you know, but you ignore it. You know the truth, but you ignore it. Ignorance, both types, ignorance gives birth to twins. Fear, false evidence appearing real, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. And the other twin is denial. They live in denial. They deny their fear. And in denying that fear comes another emotion called hate. That's why I say they don't hate you, they fear you. And as long as they can feel superior to you, That's the false evidence that's appearing real. Because I wrote a book, Carbon Before Melanin. And in scientific reality, there is nothing superior about white. Scientifically, white is the absence of melanin. So when the African traveled into the northern climate and got caught in the ice age, they lost their pigmentation. Their nose became thin because in Africa, the wide nose brings in all the oxygen from the plants. And the oxygen goes through the blood system and creates a living system of excellence. But when we were in the ice age, Africans were in the ice. They had to protect because the cold wind would freeze their nostrils and their nasal passages. So the nose became what called aquiline. It got thin. The lips became thin. They lost their lips. Africans have thick lips, big lips. Europeans don't have lips. They have a mouth, but they don't have lips. Not superior or inferior. The hair texture, the kinky hair. In your hair follicle, you have a sebaceous gland, oily gland. Connected to the sebaceous gland, you have another packet of oily, waxy substance known as sebum. S-E-B-U-M. Sebum. Sebum is an oily, waxy substance that the little packets will open up and it'll send sebum on the hair follicle up to the top of the head. And it'll bathe the head and it protects the scalp from the harmful rays of the sun. But when the sebum, the oil, connects to the hair follicle, it kinks it. It makes it what we call nappy. And it creates a crown on the head to protect the scalp from the harmful rays of the sun. But when the African in Africa went into Europe above the 51st parallel, which is like a cap on the top of the earth, when they went up there and they were impacted by an ice age, the worm ice age, W-U-R-M, ice age. They were locked into the ice. And when they were locked into the ice, the depigmentation process happened. See, here in New York, when it turns winter, we lose this pigmentation. No matter how melanated you are, in the winter months, Black folk lose pigmentation. Their hair texture changes because in the absence of the sun, the sebum that rises onto the hair follicle doesn't kink it. It lays on the hair follicle. It makes it round. Kinky hair is flat. The hair follicle is flat when you look at it under a microscope. Kinky hair is flat.
Yeah.
And like when you rub on a like ribbon, it'll kink. Well, that's what happened with hair. But when it's a round follicle, it lays down and it becomes straight. And when it gets real straight, it's called dead straight because a hair follicle has suffocated and it just lays on the head. That's straight hair. Not superior. It's not good hair, not bad hair. Not talking about that. But these were the different physiological changes the African went through when it left the heat of the sun. And when it got into where Europe is and over in Asia, okay, everybody say Asian eyes. There are no Asian eyes. You look to the Khoisan people, South Africa, you say they look Chinese. But they look like that because they're near the Kalahari Desert. You go up to the Sahel, which is right up there near Burkina Faso, Niger, up in that area there, right below the Sahara, the Sahel. You see black folk, well melanated, kinky hair, but they have that epicanthal fold in the eye that makes it what's called slanted. And that's because when a human being lives in a windy area, it makes you squint your eyes. And over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years, people are born not having to exercise so much energy, so that children are born with the slanted eyes. So that is why the people of the Khoisan look that way, because they are around the Kalahari Desert. The people in Sahel have very epicanthal folds. They call epicanthal, Epicanthal. I spell, brother Orina, so that if people want to do research, you can research what I'm saying. Don't believe what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Do your own research. Find out for yourself what I'm saying. Don't just trust me because I'm saying it and I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Research this yourself. Study the work so you come to your own conclusions about what we're saying. Do you know what happens when young black children look in the mirror and love their melanated skin? They love their wide nose and their thick lips and their kinky hair, and they love it because they know that that's a blessing. Because if black folk did not have kinky hair, they would have died of skin cancer. If they didn't have melanated skin, they would have died of melanoma or skin cancer. If they didn't have wide nose, they wouldn't be able to breathe up all that oxygen. It's a beautiful thing. In science, we don't say superior or inferior, good or bad. The words we use in science is dominant and recessive genes. African genes are dominant. The black woman can give birth to every type of human being on the planet, but no other woman can give birth to a black child. We got the DNA of the world. Our DNA is the stamp on the human being. So when you wonder why they want to erase this history, do you see what would happen if we knew who we really were? Understand from a child growing up, knowing this information about how great thou art. You're beautiful, you're handsome, you're intelligent, you're a genius. I used to always tell my children that. You're a genius. Everybody in this room is a genius. There's nothing that I'm gonna teach you that you can't pass and surpass. You're not a failure, you're a success. But you got to believe in yourself. But you have to know it. That's what we teach them. And that's why they want to erase our history. Because we'll know. We taught the Greeks. And the Moors of North Africa in Europe, they taught the Europeans. And then they created what was called the Renaissance, the rebirth. We taught them that. We taught them music. We taught them math and science. And to get deep, the human being that was the first mathematicians was the black woman. Black women were the first mathematicians. And they were the first scientists. Now you say, well, why? Why women? So the question becomes, my brother Orina, what would make a human being count nature-wise? What would make a human being count? And I'm talking about a time in history where we're not where we are now. We're like infants that are just finding out about the world. There are things that infants do when they start finding things out. They start to look and they realize that they have a hand and the hand is connected to their body, and they learn that they can control it. You see an infant, infant will start doing this because they realize that hey, this is connected to me. But when they were first born, they didn't know that. And so when you're dealing with the human family, you ask yourself, what would make a human being count? What would make a man count? There's really nothing that would make a man count. But what would make a woman count? Her monthly cycle. Her monthly cycle was what started the human family counting in order for her to prepare for her monthly cycle. So the African woman began to count. And when she counted, she came to realize that it was a 28, 29, 30-day cycle. And she realized that in that 30-day cycle, there were 4 phases of her monthly cycle in terms of the production of the egg. That's what started mathematics, because the base of mathematics is counting. So when she started counting, that started the study of math. And then she would hand down what she learned about her cycle to her daughter to her daughter. And that started math class. Now let's look at science. What is the base science? The base science is astronomy. Astronomy. Why would a man think in terms of looking up at the heavens? Why would a woman look up at the heavens? Because she noticed that there was a celestial body that also had a 28, 29, 30-day cycle. The moon. And she began to realize that the moon also had 4 phases: full moon, half moon, quarter moon. So then she started the calendar. And she handed the calendar down through the generations. Necessity is the mother of invention. So we have to wonder what through nature would make human beings do what they do. And so math and science was created by the monthly cycle of the woman and the recognition that the moon had a lunar cycle, because every calendar is based on the lunar cycle. Every calendar is based on the lunar cycle. And so in being based on the lunar cycle, that would also create the relationship between the heavens and the earth. And that is why agriculture, they grew, first it was hunting and gathering, and then it became fishing, where they studied the waters. And then came agriculture. And then came agricultural science, which then looked to astronomy. And so the African man and the African woman working together. See, it's not about one being more important than the other. To the African, it was ma'at. It was balance. Not above, not below, not in front, not behind, beside. This is why the king and the queen sit next to each other. One doesn't sit in front, one doesn't sit in the back. They sit beside each other, and together they rule their domain, their king domain and their queen domain. And the black man and the black woman, there's nothing more feared on this planet than black love. The love between a man, and that's why the first thing they did in colonialism and enslavement, they broke up the black family. They broke our families up. They sold us to each other. We didn't even, we as men enslaved could not be a man. We could not be a father to our child. Because if we were a father to our child, then our children would listen to us and not the white enslaver. So we could never have the power over our family. Same thing in colonialism. A black man, an African man, could never be in control of his destiny. Because then the European colonial enslaver could not control that village. He would not be feared. So they had to instill fear in us. And the way to do that is to split the man and the woman from each other. And that's one of the challenges that we have today. We as black men and black women, we have to respect each other. We have to honor each other. Because we know women are equal. Women are equal to men. There's nothing weak about women. There's nothing weak about men. So what we have to do is we have to get back to the way it used to be and respect each other and respect the strength and attributes and the characteristics that women have, and respect and honor the attributes that men have. And together, we're going to make this happen.
Wow, wow, wow. And also, I've always been seeking clarification on this. Now, black women have the Eve gene, the mitochondrial DNA.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? What does that mean for people who don't know?
The mitochondrial DNA is what allows human beings to track their ancestry back to the black woman. There's also a Y DNA. And a Y DNA for you and for me is what our daddies gave us, what our fathers gave us. Women have 2X, men have X and Y. For my sister, my father gave my mother his X chromosome. When I was born, he gave my mother a Y chromosome. So we can trace our ancestry back to the original black man. But because we come from woman, we all go back with the X chromosome. Because you have an X chromosome, I have an X chromosome. That X chromosome is that mitochondrial that traces us back to the original mother, the original womb from whence we came. But for men, we can trace our Y DNA to our daddy in Africa. That happens also. Science, not personal, not emotional. Science. Women give birth to all of us. Women go through their cycle in order to give birth to it. And check this out. We think of ancestors, okay? And we wonder about ancestors. You, Orina, are an individual man. I, Kaba, individual man. But how many ancestors do you have? How many people came into existence to bring Brother Orina into existence? I have a mathematical formula. I call it e to the 3. I call it exponential expansion equation. Exponential expansion equation. E to the 3. 3 E's. Exponential expansion equation. And this formula is x equals 2 to the nth power. X equals how many ancestors you have. N is the generation that you're talking about. So you have 2 parents. You have 4 grandparents. You have 8 great-grandparents. So let's go through the math. X equals n to the first power. That's your parents. X equals 2 times 1, which is equal to 2. You have 2 parents. Your grandparents. X equals 2 to the second power. 2 times 2, 4. Your great-grandparents. X equals 2 to the third power, which is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Your great-great-grandparents, which is your 4th generation going back. X equals 2 to the 4th power, which is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is equal to 16. Make sense?
Yes.
Remember now, for every direct ancestor you have, every one of them has the same amount of ancestors in them. So you got to multiply and add both direct and indirect ancestors. So let me take you back 500 years. Let's say I take you back 20 generations. And let's say a generation is 25 years in length. Every 25 years is a new generation. That equals 500. 25 times 20 equals 500. If I took you back to the year 1525, the formula would be x equals n to the 20th power. I'm going to tell you how many ancestors you have. How many people came into existence to bring Brother Orina into existence to be here in September of 2025? How many ancestors dwell within you over the past 500 years? When you do the math, my brother, it's 1,048,576 people. Think about what I'm saying to you. This is math, Brother Orina. This isn't emotion. This isn't a religious ritual that I'm doing now. It can become one, but I'm talking science right now. I'm talking math. X equals n to the 20th power. When you work that out mathematically over the past 500 years to bring you into existence, 1,048,576 human beings came into existence that brought you into existence. Math. But hold on. I'm going to drop the other shoe because I only took you back 500 years. How many people came into existence if I brought you back 5 million? Think about what I'm saying. Think of your ancestors. Think of the ancestors that existed before Europeans were even on the face of the earth. Think of how many people are in you. You have their DNA. This is how deep this gets. You want to know why they don't want us to know our history? Do you know what we could do if we could call upon our ancestors to get us through situations? How many of your ancestors are my ancestors? How many have somehow or other crossed paths over the hundreds of thousands of years of existence of humans on this planet? Now, let me give you the other side. Because I told you how many came into existence to bring you into existence. And by the way, family, for every one of you, it's the same story. What Brother Orina and I just went through as an individual, it applies to you too. It applies to me, every human being. Same number, same mathematical formula. X equals 2 to the nth power. That's how many people came into existence to bring you into existence. Now let's get spiritual. Now let's get divine. Your daddy, your father, had millions upon millions of spermatozoons. That's the singular for spermatozoa, spermatozoon. Your daddy had millions upon millions of spermatozoon. Your mother had millions and millions of eggs. But just before you were conceived, and your daddy released millions of spermatozoon into your mother, there was only one that got through the egg. Think of all the millions of sperm that sidestepped and said, no, it's your turn. You fertilize the egg. Think of all of the millions of sperm. Because if another sperm had fertilized the egg, you might be Orina, but you would not be you as Orina. You might be that other sperm. But that particular sperm fertilized your mother's egg. And of all of the millions of eggs that your mother had that went through the fallopian tube, it was that specific egg that was released for your daddy's spermatozoon to penetrate, to bring you into existence. You know what I tell sisters? Every little girl that's born is born with every egg that she will ever produce. She doesn't produce eggs in life. She goes through the process of releasing the egg during her monthly cycle. But you're born with every egg that you'll ever have. So think about this. When your mother was born, you were born. Because the egg that your mother was born was in her the moment she was conceived. So the moment your mother was born, she had your egg in her. So you were also born. It just took a while for you to come into existence. Maybe mom was 22, 23, 30, 35, whatever age she was. It took that many years for that egg to be produced in order to bring you, Orina, into existence. But check this out. When your grandmother was born, she had the egg of your mother. Think about what I'm saying. Make sense to you? Because I can slow it up.
No. I'm following.
Grandmother was born with all the eggs that she would ever have. One of them was your mother. But at the same time, when your mother was born, when your grandmother was born, you were born too. Because your mother had your egg in her. When your great grandmother was born, she was born with your grandmother's egg. Your grandmother had your mother's egg. And your mother had your egg. So you see, African spirituality, you've always existed. You've always existed. It just took time. That's why I said time is the most precious thing you have. Suppose your mom and dad had decided to have that physical relationship. She said, or maybe dad said, well, I got to go to work, so we cannot have that physical relationship tonight, tomorrow night. If that had happened, you might not have been born. It might have been somebody else, because the spermatozoon might have been different from your daddy. So that's why you are a divine being. You're divine. You were given a gift to fulfill. And that gift was given to you before you were even born. Your gift was given to you when your great grandmother was born. But it took time to bring you into existence. And of all those 1,048,576 human beings, see, this is the spiritual system of Africa. This is how deep we are as a people. We are a divine people. All of us are. Europeans are too. They just decided to go the other way. They just went another way. They decided to do the wrong thing. Not all of them, but enough of them.
Yeah.
They went another way. But for those of us who are constantly on the road to finding our spirituality, trying to find us who we are as a people, try to develop us and divine this divine gift. What was your gift that you were given? Why are you on this earth? What is your purpose? That's why we're on the planet. This is what our Creator wanted us. And that is why the long line of ancestors came into existence, to give birth to us, for us to contribute to this planet, heaven on earth. We were never meant to live like this. We weren't meant to kill each other. The Creator didn't bring us here to do this. The Creator had a divine purpose for us. What is it? And that's what life is, to search for your divine gift. And as an educator, it is our job to facilitate, not to tell you. I can't tell nobody what their gift is. Only they know. I can facilitate the movement of learning what your gift is, but I can't tell you what it is. Imagine you're in a dark room, can't see anything. Then you find a light switch. You see the TV, you see the computer, you see the lamp, you see the chairs, you see the tables. Did all those things appear in the room when you turned the light on? No, they were always there. Your light just wasn't on. So it's your job, Brother Orina, as you do your programs, such as this, is to facilitate and help our people find the light switch of their mind, so that they can look within and understand that they are the Creator having a human experience. They are divine. They were born divine. There is no such thing as an illegitimate child. How can a gift from the Creator be illegal? It might come in different ways. But no matter what child, no matter what condition they may be, mentally, spiritually, physically, or soulfully, they are the Creator having a human experience. We have to respect each other. But we also have to be careful, because there are some people who don't have respect. So you don't want to put yourself in harm's way. But we are divine. We're divine. So to go back to your question, why are they erasing this? Brother, do you know what would happen if children, from the moment they were conceived? Because I used to talk to, when my wife was expecting our children, I used to talk to her womb. I used to put my head next to her womb and talk so that the babies, our children, our two daughters and son, would hear my voice. So when they came out after being born, they knew my voice.
Mm.
So I know that, having been around children and the response that children give, not just my own biological children, but the children that I have taught through the years, I can't turn that switch on for you. Only you can turn the switch on. But I can
Mm.
facilitate you knowing that there's a switch. And if you know there's a switch and you know that everything in the room will be seen, at least you go on the journey of trying to find that light switch because you know it's there. Most of our people are walking the earth, they don't even know they're in a room with a whole bunch of stuff. Sometimes they be bumping into it and don't even know what they're bumping into. They could be bumping into something sacred. They don't even know because their light's not on. They don't see what's in the room for them. Just like your mother was born with every egg she'll ever produce, every human is born with every piece of information that has ever existed, that exists, and that will ever exist. And all we got to do, turn that light switch on, and we'll see it. It's there. And that's what you do with your program. That's why when you contacted me and we made the arrangements for this program, you don't have to ask me twice. We was going to get it on because I know that you have voice and you have an audience to people that need to hear certain messages. And the people that you bring on your program need to talk to the people and assist them in understanding you are a divine being. You're a blessing to this earth. Don't waste your time. Have fun. Have fun. Enjoy life. Don't work when you play. Don't play when you work. Enjoy life, but work. Work.
Wow, wow, wow. Wisdom from the elder. And that's why, uh, wow. And it's funny, you're giving all this wisdom and it's just sinking on me. That's why I'm just shutting up and letting the elder talk. Maybe that's what we need to do as young people. We don't, I know, like, we want change. We are so aggressive as Gen Zs. I'm a Gen Z. I told you I'm 25 years old. And Gen Zs, even in this country, Gen Zs are very, very much aggressive. They want change and they want change now.
That's right.
But but we should also listen to the right elders, because not all elders, by the way, you know, elder, let me tell you, not all elders are like you or other. There's some elders who we can't listen to because there's some elders who have contributed to the to the situation that we're in right now. But we can listen to the right elders for wisdom. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And you're absolutely correct. Everybody that get old ain't an elder. They might be senior citizen, but they're not elder. Elder is a position in the society. It is who sits on the stool of wisdom and knowledge that the community will surround and listen to. But just because you get old don't mean that you're an elder. There's only one thing worse than a young fool, an old fool, because an old fool hasn't learned. A young fool can learn and change his or her ways, but an old fool is set in their ways. And you're right. You have to critically think who you want to follow, who you want to listen to, whose words resonate with your soul, with your spirit, make you feel safe in trust. The one thing I always did with my children, Brother Orina, in all of my classrooms, as long as I've taught, programs that I do, I always made the children feel safe in my presence. No judgment, no hurtful words. I may have to tell you something, but I'll tell it to you with love and respect. I won't try to bring your character down. I won't try to hurt your feelings. I may have to kind of shape you a little bit. I may have to kind of let you know, well, you got to be careful when you're going that way. But I'm not judging you. I'm just observing you. And as an elder, having been through this before, I see you heading towards a pit. And I'd like to tell you how you can get around the pit so you don't have to fall in it. Because if you fall in it, now you're going to have to spend time climbing out of it. And time is the most precious thing you have. If you can listen to what I'm saying and go around the pit, you're going to save yourself some time trying to dig it out. But not all people that get old are elders. When you look at the Congolese philosophy, they'll tell you that there are elders that should be shunned. There are people that have gotten older but have not found their gift. And therefore, they bring pain and suffering to people they come in contact with. And then there are others that have something to say. At the same time, there are things that the younger people have to say. We as elders have to respect you. We have to respect your accomplishments. Because I'm telling you, my son is my techspert. I call him my techspert. He and I work together. He's my techspert. You go on Instagram, he handles my Instagram page. When it comes to computer, he teaches me. My grandson, he's 13 years old. He teaches me things. He was the one on my phone. He was the one that put the red, black, and green stripes on my phone. He said, yo, Grandpa, let me show you how you can put the red, black, and green flag on your phone. and he went on. He's okay. There we go. Okay. That's what my grandson did. The only difference is that it was the other way. Okay. But same thing, red, black, and green. My grandson. I had it a certain way. He said, Grandpa, with all that you talk about, I'm going to show you how to put it on. He put the red, the black, and the green on. Young people have a lot to teach us. Like I say, it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a child to raise a village.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. I hope you guys are listening to this wisdom. This wisdom comes once in a while. And when you get people like them, you have to squeeze as much wisdom as you can. Elder. Wow, wow, wow. And by the way, Elder, you you are so knowledgeable in the field of Kemet, in the field of ancient Egypt and everything. People are very, very unaware because you see the pyramids, you see the nose cut off, and people are really. I was even talking to my friends, and they didn't know that Egypt was once called Kemet, and Kemet meant the black land, the land of black people. And to me, I just want to ask you because I feel like this is what they're trying to do. Why are they trying to hide this Kemetic history? Why are they trying to hide the fact that we made the pyramids and all this? Why? Why?
For the same reason that another group of them is trying to erase our history. You see, I led a tour in Egypt in June of 2024. We brought 61 people to Egypt. We went all around. And I have on my website and on my Instagram link, we did a documentary series on our trip. It's up on my site. Tourism in Egypt is a multi-million-dollar business. If people from around the world knew who built those pyramids, the present Egyptian government is afraid that they would not want to come. And so they must make it like they built the pyramids. They don't even understand what our ancestors were carving on the walls. In my book, Spirituality Before Religions, I do an analysis of the walls of Kemet. And I try to explain the philosophy, African philosophy, deep thought of our ancestors, how deep they were. Brilliant, brilliant. We don't think like that now. Our neurons in our brains are not connected the way our ancestors were. Even in Kenya, Kenya is the heart of the human family. It was one of the first places that the Twa Mbuti Khoisan went. Kenya. I consider the northern part of Kenya part of Kush. The northern part of Kenya that goes into Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea, Somalia, across Chad, through Sudan, and then the southern part of Kemet. That's Kush. And then those Kushites moved north and created what we call Egypt. But check this out. The word Egypt is a corruption of a Greek word. Think of it like this: E dash GY dash PT, Egypt. The Greeks called this land Aegyptos. Aegyptos. So think in terms of EGYPT. That came from the Greek AI dash GUP, GU, I should say, GU dash PT, OS, Aegyptos. Egypt, Aegyptos. But the Greeks called it Aegyptos because the Africans called it Hekapata. Hekapata. Hekaptah. Hekapata. So now look at EGYPT. That's what we call it today. Yes. That came from the Greek word Aegyptos. Aegyptos. But the Greeks got it from Hekaptah. Egypt is a corruption of an African word. But Hekapata was the capital where the pyramids are built. In that area there, that's what the Africans call that part. So they Kemet, the black land, was what they called the general area. But that particular area, Hekapata, became Aegyptos, which meant the land, the Greeks called it, which then became Aegypt, Egypt. It's like if somebody went to Kenya and called Kenya Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
They named the whole land, the whole country, after the capital. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does. It does.
See, it's good you're recording. Because if you should choose to go back over and listen to what I'm saying, it can sink in. Because that's who we are. If I were them, I would do the same thing. I would not want people to know that the people that built the pyramids and the temples and the shrines and the philosophy and the alphabet, I would not want them to know it wasn't me, because I want to make the money. The present day people in Egypt want to make the money. You know what it would look like if people knew that what they were selling was somebody else's history? People wouldn't come. They wouldn't come. And you know what's also very interesting? Is that the wisdom and knowledge of Kemet came from Kush. What evolved up there came from where you are right now. There is as much to celebrate about Kenya as it is about Kush, as it is about Kemet. We get caught up in the exoticness of Egypt. There's a place in Kenya, in northern Kenya. It's called Namoratunga. Namoratunga. It's called Namoratunga. Namoratunga. The Konso people. There's a Konso people up there. And the Konso people are not only part of northern Kenya, but they're also part of southern Ethiopia. Same people. It was the Europeans that divided into 54 countries. But the Konso people were a people that lived, that today would be part of southern Ethiopia and northern Kenya. Same people, over by the Omo River. It's over by the Omo River.
Yeah.
There is a place called Namoratunga. In Namoratunga, there is 19 basalt slabs that are in the earth in northern Kenya that are lines of sight for 5 different constellations. Constellations of Canis Major, Orion, of Taurus, Triangulum, and it looks like a serpent in the sky. Namoratunga. And now, miles away from Namoratunga 1, you have Namoratunga 2. In Namoratunga 2, the same basalt lines of sight, there's stones in the ground that are in alignment with constellations and stars. Okay? But here, it's a cemetery. It's a cemetery where the dead are buried. One is the astronomical observatory. Miles away, with all the headstones facing in the same direction, it's a cemetery. But what does that say that our ancestors were thinking? That as you live and you die, that you align your line of sight with the heavens, so that when you die, your spirit rides into the heavens. It's a metaphor. It's a story. And that is why most headstones should face east. Most cemeteries, the headstone should face east. The same way in Islam, everybody prays to the east. Well, they don't pray to the east. They pray to the sun. Just like they did in Kush. Ra. the giver of all life. The sun is the giver of all life. And so they believe that when you died, you returned back to where your life came from. So you traveled east. Astronomy and spirituality, science and spirituality. That's why my book, Spirituality Before Religions, is subtitled Spirituality is Unseen Science. Science is seen spirituality. It's us, Brother Orina. Our ancestors were geniuses. And they laid out a story for us. And you know what was interesting? When I have been to Kemet, I've often felt that our ancestors knew one day that they would be erased from history. So they left a legacy on the walls. They carved it in stone so that it could never be destroyed, knowing that we, their children, would come back one day and rescue, research, and restore the African legacy. And that's what we're doing. We are rescuing it from the hands that don't know what they're talking about. We're researching it once we get it, and we're restoring it back onto the throne. We're doing it as we speak. And every generation, we're passing the baton. Those that came before me, passed the baton to me. My teachers told me there was no way and there was nothing I could do to repay them for what they did for me, except to do for others what they did for me. And so when you and I sit here and we have this conversation, I am paying them back by paying this forward to you and to those who are listening. And there's one thing I ask. Don't believe a word I say. My job isn't to make you believe me. My job is to make you think. Think.
Mm-hmm.
Why would somebody do that to you? Why would someone treat you like that? Why would someone try to take your spirituality from you? Why would they take your language from you? Why would they erase your history? Why would they take your values, your interests, and your principles away from you? Why? Why would one person do that to another? Because they were afraid of you. And they were afraid of what would happen. If you knew your history, you spoke your language, and you honored your values, interests, and principles. They were afraid. False evidence appearing real. And they deny it. And what happens when the twins give birth, they give birth to the isms that create schisms to divide us, to conquer us, because they're afraid of what happens when the black man and the black woman unite with respect and dignity and bring forward families. When the black man is proud to be who he is, when the black woman is proud to be who she is, that's a nuclear bomb right there. Okay. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's more than a nuclear bomb. That changes everything without taking a life. But that creates life. And that's the life that they wanted to kill. Because they ain't never want us, Brother Orina and Brother Kaba, to have this conversation like this. They ain't never wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
And they do not want you to be the type of person that's going to bring this information to the people, for them to think. Think. Don't believe it. I don't care if people believe me. I want you to think. People say to me, oh, I don't agree with you. Then they give me this whole reason why they don't agree with me. But what they don't realize is, well, that's good. I made you think. Whether you
Yeah.
agree with me or not, I couldn't care less. The fact that you don't agree with me, and this is why A, B, C, D, 3, the fact that you can tell me why, I made you think. And when I made you think, I made your neurons connect. And when your neurons connected, that's when you came to the decision you don't necessarily agree with me. I don't care because I know what I'm talking about. One day you'll understand what I'm saying. But right now,
Mm.
called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when you believe something for a long time and all of a sudden somebody comes with some information that changes everything you ever believed. You say, oh my God, but all this time I've been believing this. Now all of a sudden he's dropping some stuff and it makes sense to me. It scares me because now I got to change the way I'm thinking. So the result of cognitive dissonance is that you either hold tight to what you believe, even though it's a lie, or you begin to alter the way you think because the truth is overwhelming. And when the truth is overwhelming, you have to change the way you think.
Mm. Mm.
Just the way it is.
Wow.
Side.
Wow. 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 Wow, Elder. Elder, thank you so much for coming, man. I
Mm,
mean, I have learned a lot. I have grown wiser through your wisdom. You've passed a lot of wisdom to me and to the thousands of people watching.
yes.
Who, I think, because right now in Kenya, young people are agitating for change. Last year we had major protests
Mm,
against bad governance, and even this year as well. What are the last words you'd like to leave to the whole global African youth who are agitating for change, who want change, even and also to the ones who really don't give a damn, who are not willing to change anything as well. They just want to live their lives. What would you say to the Gen Zs, to the Gen Alphas, and to the young millennials who are listening to you right now as we wind up?
I'd like you to know that from my heart, I love you, I respect you, I honor you. This is your time to develop yourself, to make decisions. You have the power. You have the power. Set your agenda for what you see is best for the society. Base it on truth, justice, balance, harmony, order, arrangement. And realize that the way in which the universe works, that what you give is what you'll get. What goes around comes around. You shall reap what you sow. Know that you have the power to make change. You are going to inherit the world. The elders and those that are making decisions now have no right to ruin your future. Stand for what you believe in with integrity and honor. And also, the way in which the universe works, understand it's going to get better. I just want you to know that. I know that it don't look too good right now in certain ways. You're going through a lot of different changes. I've been with you in the classroom, so I have a sense of how the young mind works, whatever generation you may belong to. And I know as you're looking at the world, there's a lot of different things happening, not just at home, but abroad. But the Creator and ancestors didn't bring us this far to leave us like this. Have faith in yourself. Know that you have the power to make change and demand it. But more than that, take the responsibility. Responsibility isn't a noun. They'll tell you responsibility is a noun, but it's not. Responsibility is two words, not one. It's the response to your ability. What are you going to do? Do something. Make a change. And like the song Go by Michael Jackson, you want to make a change? Look at the man and the woman in the mirror. That's your first step in change. And let me leave you this homework assignment. I'm a teacher, so I got to give you a homework assignment. I have to. I'm going to give you the same homework assignment that my teacher, Dr. John Henry Clark, gave me when I was 12 and a half years old, first time I met him. He's my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me to go home, to look in the mirror, and tell the person that I was looking at, I love you, and mean it. He said, if you can't do that, there is nothing anyone else outside of you can do for you. The first step in success is self-love. Love your complexion, love the width of your nose, the shape of your lips, the kink in your hair. Love it. Embrace it. And if you look in the mirror and you think a change should be made, don't hate how you look. Love how you look and determine you deserve better. And whatever change you need to make, you're going to make through love. But you got to love yourself. They taught us to hate ourselves. They taught us that we have bad hair. They taught us we have ugly nose, big lips. And the whole time that they're telling us how ugly we are, they're doing everything they can to look like us. Laying up to get tan like us, getting perm in their hair to get the kink, shape their nose so it's big, put fat in their lips so they get big lip. The whole time they're telling you how ugly we are, they're trying to look like you. So right there, you should know there's a problem. Love yourself, family. And to the young people, I respect you. Stand up for what you believe in. Do it with dignity, respect, integrity. Continue to listen to Brother Orina and the people that he brings on. He cares about you. We talked. He cares about you. He's dedicated his life to make things better for us as a people, at home and abroad. Reach out to the people that care about you. And with that, you got it made. You just got to keep on keeping on. It ain't over till we win.
Mm.
The stars have aligned. Success is in the air. Embrace it. Own it. Own your greatness. Brother Orina, thank you so much for this opportunity. I am really just so happy. HAPI is what we call the Nile River. Happy. And I thank you for the work that you're doing for your generation. And I'm with you all the way, brother. Anything we can do, you want to talk, you want to think about some ideas, things that you'd like to do, give a shout. And
Wow.
this is the first of other conversations we'll have in the future. This is a great introduction, brother. Thank you for this opportunity. I respect you, brother. I'm proud of you. Keep on keeping on.
Wow. Thank you. And thank you so much for all those years, 30, 40 years you've been teaching us. And you just know, but I know you know this, but I just want to remind you that your teachings are traversing all over the world. Because if you taught a young boy like me from Kenya, it's reaching somebody in Malawi, it's reaching somebody in Zambia, it's reaching somebody in China. your teachings are traversing all over the world. By the way, Elder, I don't know if you know this, but your name Kamene has a lot of Kenyan roots. I know a couple of Kenyans who are called Kamene from the Kamba tribe.
Mm.
So it's very interesting.
Well,
Yeah, yeah,
Kamba,
yeah.
how do you spell Kamba?
Kamba.
Kamba, Kamba. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, Kamba. I'll keep that in mind too. Yes, 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 yes. And if you took
yeah.
the
A
M
lot of
out,
people.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. If you take the M out, it's Kaba.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, I can't help it, brother. It's just part. The stars have aligned.
Wow, wow, wow! Thank you so much, guys. You've had the man, you've had the icon, the legend, Elder Kaba Kamene.
And
Please,
please, brother
yeah,
Ori,
go
just one
on,
more
go on.
thing I'd like to add. To go to my website,
Yes,
kabakamene.com. If you could put that up,
I'll
for
put
him.
it. I'll put it on the
Yes,
screen.
ma'am.
Yeah.
KABAKAMENE.com. That's my website. They'll get a free e-course, a 6-day e-course, and my study guide. And they'll also have access to a lot of the work that I've done, so that they can begin to connect that way also. And they can also go to my Instagram page, which is really my what I consider to be my community bulletin board. They'll see a lot of different things that I'm doing and where I'm going and some of the projects that I have. That's at Kaba Kamene. So those two things, to continue this type of conversation and this connection.
Facebook, Twitter. It's just Instagram and your website.
Yeah, Instagram and website is really what I focus on more than anything else. My Facebook page is Panther Prince, per Ankh, Perankh. But my
I'll
Instagram
leave,
page is my community bulletin board, and my website is where my material is.
great. I'll leave all the website link on the description and your social media handles. Kindly. I mean, you've seen the wisdom that the elder produces. I mean, you have to reach out to him one way or another for some more, for some more wisdom. Go to the website, learn something. Go to the Instagram page and learn something. I've learned a lot from you. I've watched a lot of your lectures. Of course, I saw your hidden colors, and then I dug deep. I've been following you for many years, and
Mm,
I'd like to say that it's people like you that have shaped my thinking, and it's people like you that have shaped my, the things that I know right now. So,
mm.
guys, please, support this icon, support this icon. And anyway, Elder, thank you so much. This has to be the best episode I've ever done so far.
I'm happy
So
to hear
thank
that.
you so much.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. I look forward to the future. All power to the people.